You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Folks, the wait is over. Senator Kamala Harris of California becomes the first black woman to be on a major presidential ticket after she was picked today by Vice President Joe Biden to be his running mate. She, of course, ran against him in the Democratic primary. There were some tough battles between them in various debates, but it all boiled down to him realizing that she was the best person to go against Donald Trump and Mike Pence in November. In fact, this was the tweet that Joe Biden sent out. He said, "I have the great honor to announce that I picked Kamala Harris, a fearless fighter for the little guy and one of the country's finest public servants, as my running mate." That was a tweet that he sent out at 4:17 p.m. Eastern on today. There was so much speculation as to who was he going to pick. Among the folks who were on his short list, United Nations Ambassador Susan Rice, who served with him in the Obama administration. Also, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Tammy Duckworth. You had Congresswoman Val Demings, Congresswoman Karen Bass. You also had Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. But it all came down to Senator Kamala Harris. All right, folks, let's get going right to it with our panel. First up, I want to bring up somebody who is quite happy, Reese Colbert, Black Women's Views. Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, she is a political analyst. We have Janice Mathis, National Council of Negro Women, and also Drew Comments. Y'all know Drew. He was one of the big-time male supporters of Senator Kamala Harris. Reese, I might as well start with you. You have been riding with Senator Kamala Harris from day one. You got to be a little excited today.
I am over the moon, excited. I got my Kamala Harris side-eye shirt. I'm side-eyeing everybody who wasn't down with Kamala for day one. But guess what? It's water under the bridge because she is the vice presidential nominee. So welcome aboard the Kamala train. Welcome aboard.
Obviously, Avis, Joe Biden had lots of great choices. He was under intense pressure from African Americans to pick Senator Kamala Harris, especially black women. Look, many people say he made the right call in the end, but trust me, this could have gone a whole different way.
It could have gone, I'm going to try not to be salty in the way that he didn't have control over his people leading up to this. But so I'm going to let it go. But at the end of the day, he made the right choice. As you mentioned, this was the best choice that he can make. If you look at all the different variables in which he seems to be leading Trump in the polls, the one that he seems to still be behind in is this issue of enthusiasm. And if you really want to get that base riled up, you need to make sure that you represent black women. And to have Kamala on there, not only as a black woman, but as a premier, and I would argue the premier black woman in politics today, you cannot have a better choice. So congratulations to her, but also congratulations to him.
Janice Mathis, I want to bring you in. Bottom line is this here. Black women, they vote Democrat at a higher rate than anybody else in the country. And so Joe Biden could not risk the wrath of that powerful voting bloc.
Well, he certainly did not want to risk it. And when you think about it, except for the fact that she has some African heritage, her being chosen would make more sense than anything. She had 80% approval rating. Her favorability rating was higher than Elizabeth Warren's. She brings a part of the country that he's not as familiar with. She's got a sort of pragmatic law and order point of view from having been a prosecutor and attorney general. And so what about it except the fact that she happened to be a black woman would disqualify for her?
Drew, I'll bring you in. You put out a number of videos that even got the attention of Senator Harris, where you went after people who were critical of her record as Attorney General in California, as well as DA in San Francisco. Clearly, Republicans want to use that against her. The White House, they believe that they can get black male voters. What do you think she's going to be under, the kind of attack she's going to face over the next 80-plus days?
Well, the kind of attack, first of all, hold up. This is the energy we on right now, you know what I'm saying? We go ahead and just break out the exclusive Kamala drip. You know what I'm saying? You dig what I'm saying? But the kind of attacks that she's going to be under, I can just see it now. It's either going to be the same 6 or 7 now debunked tropes that we've been going at, you know, for the last year and some change, which is fine because we've already beat that. We've already got literature out. We've already got videos and all that. So that's one of the advantages here. We already know it's going to be thrown at him. Or, and this is the indication I got today, is that his whole thing is going to be trying to classify her as this radical left, anti-police, bought into the entire abolish police movement, and just to try to play on the fears of white folk who look at police as protectors. But you got a problem with that because the last 2 years, all we heard every day is Kamala's a cop. And so now you got to try and pull another 180 to say, well, is she soft on crime, or is she the tough on crime prosecutor? Is she anti-police, or is she a cop? So the messaging, he's got a real challenge. That's why this is the best pick ever. I'll say ever. Let me not do that. Maybe I'll say ever. That's okay. We go ahead because I'm representing black women right now. But like he doesn't know how to handle it. It's an awkward situation to be in. Your boy Pence is about to walk into a blender. One of my fellow Aggie alums put that on Twitter. But yeah, they can throw what they want at her, but at the end of the day, they don't know what to throw. Everything's pretty much going to bounce off because you had the left coming at her with one thing that wasn't true. He's going to try to come up the other direction. It's confusing.
Look, here's the deal. The reality is this here. It's going to be a top-of-the-ticket battle, Janice. It's going to be a top-of-the-ticket battle between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Look, I know folks talk a lot about what a VP means, but the reality is voters are choosing between those two. In the case here, what Joe Biden obviously needs is he needs somebody who can go out and prosecute the case. I'm using that word for a reason. Typically, the vice presidential candidate is the one who goes out and they are the attack dog. They're the ones who to really, really go after the opposition. Look, you put a former prosecutor in that place. Look, we see what she has done in the United States Senate in these various hearings. We're going to see a whole lot of the prosecutor in Senator Kamala Harris prosecuting the Trump administration on the campaign trail.
She seems at most at ease when she's in that Senate Judiciary hearing room. That's when you see the real authentic Kamala. She goes after those issues, and not just with passion, but with a deep understanding of those complex judicial issues. She'll be great on judicial picks. I'm thinking more about what she's going to be like as vice president and what portfolios he's going to be able to give her. She can take on pattern and practice investigations. She can take on judicial nominees. She can take on criminal justice reform. She'll have a whole portfolio of work that she'll be able to take away from him and make it easier for him to govern. I think it's a wonderful pick. And not just because I'm happy about it, but because it's the pragmatic thing for him to do. Nobody will be able to say in this election the Democrats are taking black folk for granted. How many times have we heard that?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, Reese, right. First of all, I know Janet is already thinking about her portfolio. If they win, not me. I believe you deal with one step first. The concern is, can they win? And so, what do you expect this campaign to be like already? The Trump people are already attacking her. I got this email. I had to laugh when Paris Denard sent this email out. I just want to, this is what RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel said. A hiding, diminished, and incoherent Joe Biden didn't just select a vice presidential candidate. He chose the person who would actually be in charge the next 4 years if he is somehow able to win. Kamala Harris's extreme positions, from raising taxes to abolishing private health insurance to comparing law enforcement officials to the KKK, show that the left-wing mob is controlling Biden's candidacy just like they would control him as president. These radical policies might be popular among liberals, but they are well outside the mainstream for most Americans. We're going to see a lot more of that over the next 80 days.
Well, and that's where it was very, very wise of Joe Biden to pick somebody who has a national profile like Senator Kamala Harris does. I mean, she has been on the Colbert Show. She has been all over media for the past several months, really really leading the charge on the coronavirus response from the Senate Democrats. She's led the charge on the criminal justice response. And so it's going to be incredibly hard to paint this extreme narrative about a person that's pretty well known and, as Janice pointed out, very popular throughout the country. What this is a competence pick, it's a pragmatic pick, and it's a substantive pick. It really benefits Vice President Joe Biden to have somebody like Senator Kamala Harris, who is actually providing a blueprint with her Senate work and how the Joe Biden administration can tackle the very real crisis, the pandemic that we're experiencing, the racial pandemic that we're experiencing with Black Lives Matter and the criminal justice movement. And so they're going to have a hard time painting her the way that they want to paint her, because there's too much meat in her record, too much substance in what she's been pushing for, and she's too well known. And another benefit that she brings is she has the cultural competency to go into spaces that Joe Biden has struggled with. You know, he made the gaffe about Black people not being as diverse as Latino people, but Kamala Harris can go into AAPI spaces, she can go to Latino spaces, she can go to the Native American community spaces, and she can go to Black spaces, and of course, white spaces. She can do it all. She can prosecute the case. And more importantly, she can give people an affirmative, inspirational vision for what a Biden and Harris administration would mean for everyday people.
I want to do this here. Anthony, pull the audio up. This is the session that we shot in Atlanta after the debate in 2019 with Higher Heights. Let's take a listen to this conversation.
And so for me, as I look at, what lies ahead, it's, again, in my testimony, in the faith and the promise of the work, of the intent, of the impact, of the influence, and bringing others along, because I honestly have seen by witness and favor that it can be done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so
yes, please.
Yeah, so, it's about the work. Again, here we are in Atlanta. When my dad ran to be the first African-American elected from the Deep South since Reconstruction, we didn't have early voting. We didn't have online registration. We didn't have Sunday and Saturday voting. We voted on a Tuesday, and the day of election, it was the pouring rain.
Folks, we're going to play some more of that video a little bit later. Avis, even though we're operating now in a whole different world, that, of course, where you had a bunch of people who were in a hotel room who were packed there, now we're operating in this different space now with coronavirus. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. Senator Kamala Harris really, really, really leaning in on going after Black women, positioning them, their voices to turn out, because what Joe Biden needs, look, there was a 2.4% drop in 2016 among Black voters. Mm-hmm. Look, Democrats know they're going to get a significant number of Black voters. What they need to do is actually increase Black voter turnout.
Absolutely. I mean, we know that, for example, what really was the secret sauce to President Obama's two successful campaigns, was the Black vote, led by the Black women's vote. We know that what happened in the last presidential election was that there was that drop, as you mentioned. And so really what we needed was a particular candidate in terms of a VP candidate that would energize that base. And the base of the base in the Democratic Party is Black women. Black women, as you know, have been very active in putting pressure on the Biden campaign to select a Black woman. And here we are with Kamala Harris, the best of the best that he could select for that space. Now, I believe that we're going to see a great deal of rallying around her, not only around with Black women in general, but specifically, you remember, she's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Have to shout out my sorors. They're going to really be out there pushing to make sure that they do everything possible. You have Black women in churches, Black women in every space that you can imagine that are going to be energized, not just to get themselves to the poll on November 3rd, but to also make sure that their neighbors, their communities, this whole nation shows up in a powerful way to support her and this whole ticket on November 3rd.
Drew, I think America, if they don't know what pink and green looks like, they probably are going to get a real good view of that over the next 80 some odd days. And trust me, I tweeted this. If you hear a whole bunch of yelling, H-U, you know, that's because a lot of Howard graduates happen to see one of their own. You're a graduate of an HBCU. And look, let's just be honest. There's going to be a lot of HBCU pride for them to be able to say an HBCU graduate would actually be vice president of the United States.
Well, that's absolutely correct. I mean, just recently we've had the entire conversation, at least as it pertains to athletics, about athletes coming out of high school, top tier athletes coming out of high school, maybe seriously start considering HBCUs, especially in terms of basketball. Maker, as a matter of fact, 5-star blue chip athlete, turned down UCLA, turned down Kentucky to choose Howard University. And one of the reasons he cited was Senator Kamala Harris for that, and also Thurgood Marshall, another great alum, and just the prestige that comes with that and the pageantry. So now that this is now moving from an athletic conversation where you're not talking about basketball or football players like Tariq Cohen or Daryl Johnson with the Buffalo Bills, but now you're moving into the political side. Now it's a more well-rounded conversation. And hopefully, my hope is that it trickles down into the high school ranks and where young kids are looking at and saying, wait a minute, you know, I can go to a historically black college university and still make it, not just on the court or on the field, but in any realm of life. One of the stats I don't think gets touted enough is that HBCUs are the #1 producers of black professionals. So it's not that you have to turn your back on your own, or you have to say that, well, you know, the HBCUs, no one's going to take it seriously. No, people take it seriously, very seriously. That's where it comes from. I am actually particularly looking forward to, well, I'll say this, as a North Carolina A&T alum, you know, I let Howard have this one. You know, that's all right. That's all right. It's all me at love for this one moving forward. Ain't gonna tell him nothing. And we won't have a football season likely this year, so it's not like we can beat them on the field to silence that. So we're gonna deal with that for a while. That's all right. But I'm actually looking forward to seeing the reaction of what is called the MSM mainstream media, what they mean white corporate media, whatever you want to label it. The reaction they have to this Divine Nine culture, especially when they see, like you said, so much pink and green out, because we're going to see just more line jackets than you ever seen in your life at any event. Look, one of the things, listen, I went to a Kamala Harris rally out here in L.A., and one of the things, man, it's crazy. It feels like it's got very step show vibes to it. Like all the kids sit in their own section, they all got nail on. Like they there, like there. It doesn't matter where she goes. Like they're there. She was at Benedict College, matter of fact, and even in the small room, she spoke to the students there before, going on and speaking in mass. They're even in the room, boom, you see line jackets, you see all that. And so there's an identifier there. And matter of fact, I actually have an entire album coming out called Kamala Harris for the Culture, where I'm actually explaining, like, no, she's not just for the people, but this is actually a culture. She's actually repping for the culture as well. One of those, aspects of it is her membership in Alpha Kappa Alpha. So I'm looking forward to the confusion from people who don't know what an AKA is. I'm looking forward to, I guess the reaction, and just to see, and then, just to kind of see, what happens there. Sometimes a little agitation is a good thing. My only regret is that because of COVID-19, and I hope that everybody's still staying safe as much as possible, is that I'm not getting a step show before the inauguration, and my fried fish plate, my $12 fried fish plate ain't gonna happen. But that's all right. That's all right. We'll go ahead and take it how we can take it. And I think that, this is going to be something to watch.
But here's the deal, though, Reese. We have to look at this reality that, look, there were a lot of black people. There were black people who were very critical of Senator Kamala Harris during the primary season. You had folks who questioned her blackness. You had people who were saying that she was tough on crime. You had them saying all of these things. They were saying, I mean, look, I'll go there. You had some folks whining and complaining that she did marry a black man. I mean, all that sort of stuff out there. And then when people, I already see some people, I'm looking on YouTube, they're like, yeah, what about our policies? Well, when you say policies, What do you think she's been talking about? We've had her on this show 3 or 4 times since the primary, since she dropped out, talking about policy, dealing with black-owned businesses in PPP, dealing with what's happening on the education side. And so the policy piece is going to be something that is important. And so they are still going to have to work for that black vote, again, to increase the numbers over 2016.
Absolutely, and nobody is more equipped with receipts than Senator Kamala Harris. Senator Kamala Harris just recently introduced a Uterine Fibroids Research Act, which provides $150 million in funding for uterine fibroids, which 9 out of 10 black women suffer from before the age of 50. It is the leading cause of black women having to get a hysterectomy. She has been a leader on the forefront of black maternal mortality. When it comes to the COVID crisis, she introduced the Racial and Ethnic Disparities Task Force to make sure that communities, particularly black and brown communities, are the ones who get the resources that are needed, the PPP, first access to vaccines and things of that nature. And I can go on and on and on. She has actually secured, not just talked about, but secured an additional funding, millions of dollars for HBCUs. She has introduced a litany of proposals that actually address things like, for instance, Ice Cube's contract for Black America. And so Senator Kamala Harris will have absolutely no problem articulating what will be done under the Biden-Harris administration. And as a matter of fact, before she was named as a vice presidential running mate, Joe Biden incorporated her Racial and Ethnic Disparities Task Force into his Black America agenda. And so if people really want to talk about policies, if people really want to get into the substance of it, Senator Kamala Harris is the perfect messenger for that, because she's been there and she's done that. And she actually knows how to talk to our communities, not the Cliff Notes, not the, the very surface level stuff, and then you can't get into it after that. She knows these things from the inside, from deep inside, because she's well studied on it, well versed on it, and she's actually put forth tangible solutions to close the black home ownership gap, to put more black teachers in schools, and I can go on and on and on. And so I think that what we're going to see here with Senator Kamala Harris is kind of the same thing that we saw with then Senator Barack Obama when he ran. There was a level of skepticism towards him. There was a level of the country's not ready for a black man to be president, but there was a rallying effect, particularly after he became the nominee. And I think that people will have a sense of pride once they take a second look at Senator Kamala Harris. Now you're starting to see people back off of the smears. Now you're starting to see people correct the record. Now you're starting to see journalism change their tone towards her. And so, yes, when Kamala Harris was getting 181,000 out of 200,000 attacks just for her alone after the debates, of course, people are going to have a negative impression. But her work and her visibility since the campaign has raised her profile. She is not disproportionately unfavored. And as a matter of fact, she has high favorables with black people. And so I don't see a problem with that whatsoever. She now has the biggest platform to really show people that she is the one who's going to look out for our community, for the people and for the culture.
Janice Mathis, you understand the need to get out to vote. We're in a different space now. We're in a digital world. You and I have talked in the past about, again, how do you mobilize people going from precinct to precinct? And so what is your advice to this Biden campaign, this Biden-Harris ticket, on how to turn people out in this coronavirus pandemic? What should black people be doing when it comes to the digital side in terms of being able to drive people to the polls?
I think the most important thing we have to do now, and this is very serious, we've got to anticipate that there will be widespread voter suppression. We've got to anticipate that what's going on with the post office is not a coincidence, attacks on mail-in voting. And I think we've got to challenge our white sisters. If they ever watched the President of the United States deal with April Ryan or deal with Yamiche Alcindor, if this cannot be put on the backs of black women alone, women who think that women deserve to be treated with respect and equality and dignity, this is a time where they're going to have to step up and not march the day after inauguration, but vote on election day. I think it's terribly important that we issue that challenge. We can't be expected to wrestle people to the ground to do for them what is in their best interest that they are not willing to do for themselves.
And Reese, Drew, Janice, as well as Avis, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, Seek.com is a black-owned company, and, of course, they have a great deal for those of you who watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. You can get their VR headset or those amazing 360-degree 4D headphones, which is great for music, great for gaming, all kind of different things. You can do that by going to Seek.com, CEEK.com, using the promo code RMVIP2020. You can also join and subscribe to Seek.com. This is a virtual reality website. Mary Spiel, she is a sister. She is the founder of this company. And so, again, you can use the promo code right here, RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020, to get a discount for those VR headsets and for those headphones.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.